start. So already 40 is there. So meantime, they will join because we have to balance the serve lecture is very informative and a little lengthy also because many aspects are always covered. Okay, so we have to also conclude in time. I think we can start our time. Let them join. So
okay, so good morning to all the participants. So far 40 have joined. So good morning to you all. And today, this day we are starting with Professor Diwakar Tiwari ji. He is a senior faculty member in Department of Chemistry, Mizoram University. Presently, he is Dean School of Physical Sciences in Mizoram University. Earlier, he was Dean School of Engineering and Technology, Mizoram University, and he was also former Dean School of Fine Arts, Fashion Technology, and Architecture. He is having very wide experience in research and teaching internationally. He has been working in Japan for a long period. He has been visiting South Korea for over 10 years now. Right now also, although he is from Mizoram University, but right now he is in South Korea and he is joining this session from South Korea. Thank you, sir, for sparing your time out of your busy schedule from that far place. We always say thanks to him because whenever we call him and he's always ready for sparing his time. He is also director of IQAC Mizoram University, and he is looking after, since beginning, he is looking after NIRF ranking for Mizoram University. He is, in real sense, a researcher. If we see his citations, it is more than 3,800. His H index is 37. It's a very big number. Means 37 papers at least has been cited more than 37 times. His I index is 87, means more than 87, at least 87 papers are having more than 10 citations. He is having more than 120 publications. So a real researcher and who is looking after NIRF for our university, and our university is so far always in top 100 universities in India. So we feel he is the right person to speak on NIRF, and we requested him to make a presentation on the topic NIRF and its impact on higher educational institutions. So, sir, on behalf of the participants and on behalf of HRDC, on behalf of Professor Manoj and on my own behalf, I would like to request you to first say thank to you for accepting our invitation. And now the time is yours. You can start, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Bhartendu, the Dean School of Chemis, and thanks to Dr. Manoj along with Professor Robin from HRDC giving me this opportunity this morning to deliver about or to discuss about the NIRF. So first of all, good morning to all of you, all the participants participating. I heard from the different part of the country, and I was told before it's a good number that they have joined here for this HRDC. And I would like to mention at this moment that our HRDC center is working really good. If you try to see in the country how the other HRDC center in the different universities, how they are performing, I'm not going to compare, but our HRDC center is really doing and wonderful. All the aspects, all the whatever is suggested by the UGC, time to time they are taking in a proactive manner and initiating and conducting such activities in the HRDC center. Since I am the member of the advisory committee, also we used to monitor, we used to see that how the center is doing. So HRDC is really doing wonderfully. Thanks to the Professor Verma as well as Professor Robin are taking care of this. So thank you, Professor Bhartendu, for giving me for opportunity as well as introducing me. I don't know how much I can justify. This is not of my area of research or what we are doing. This is something else what we are contributing. So through that only we learned something. So we will try to share with you. As he mentioned, I am in here in Korea, and day after only I will be proceeding to India. So one day I'll be staying in Seoul and then a couple of days in Kolkata because there is no connecting flight. Anyway, I will be discussing what we have to, I have been asked to discuss. So Bhartendu ji, shall I share my slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it seen?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, fine, sir. Yes, it is full screen also.
Okay.
Okay, first slide now. Yes.
Thank you. Slides are okay, I think so. I'll be talking about this National Institutional Ranking Framework, that is the NIRF, implications in HAIs, higher educational, the institutions. The website, as I mentioned, which you can see here. And just 1 minute. That the www.nirfindia.org. So this is the website of the NIRF, National Institutional Ranking Framework, which is an independent body working under the Ministry of Education. So I'll be talking that how this NIRF, I started in the country, but before that I will try to talk about very little bit about the national educational policy and the citation and other things also we'll try to cover here. And what the reforms are going on in the country that I would like to discuss today. So this is the historical moment that I would like to share the slide, that release of the first NIRF ranking in the country, which was the 4th of April 2016. It was in the Vigyan Bhavan. I was also there, attended that the release function, which was released by the then Minister of MHRD that time, Srimati Smriti Irani. She launched the first NIRF ranking in the country. That was on the 4th of April 2016. And as I mentioned that this is the website. If you try to go, the website address is given here. That is, if you are trying to apply for this NIRF, what is the role of the NIRF in the country, why the ranking is important and all that. We will try to discuss all those things. This is the website, as I mentioned, that is working. It is an independent body working under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. So this is the NIRF website, and this side at the top, which is you can see here at the top, it is mentioned, not given here, login and all that, it was given. And you can see that DCS is closed. That means that the data submission is closed now, which was for the release of the Indian ranking 2023, which will be released this year, maybe in the month of April or the August. Initially, it was decided that the first week and the Monday of the first week of every April, the NIRF ranking will be released. So because of this COVID, last couple of years, it is delayed. Let's see that this year when it will be released, but we are expecting, because the last date was in the January, so we have already submitted all our data, and we are expecting in the month of April or May the release of the NIRF ranking. This is the annual submission. Annually, they are ranking as similar like the ranking, the world ranking, or the other world rankings. So this is the national. At this moment, the ranking is at the national perspective and the national event, or I can say that they are ranking the institutions located in India. Is not the international. This is only for the Indian HIs. They are ranking for that. There are the different categories. Of course, we will be discussing on that. So this is, before I go further, already Professor Bhartendu has mentioned about my H index and I-10 index, all those things, the total number of more than 140 or 150 papers that I have published. And these are the citations and all that. Today only I have just downloaded it. So that is very important in terms of the NIRF ranking and all that, because it is the individual, the individual participation or the individual contribution that makes the university contribution or the university, and the research component is taking a significant role in the NIRF ranking. And if institution is not performing well in terms of the research, then the ranking, whether it is the national ranking or whether it is the international ranking, that will not, you won't get a better rank in the country or at the internationally. So this is very important. And as I mentioned that if you see that in an HEIs, the performance of the individuals, that contributes at the end of the day, you will see that if everyone is performing well at the end of the day, you will find that the institution is performing well. So individual's contribution is very important, and one has to see, one has to assess, one has to observe how the individually is performing in the institution. So this is a very important that in terms of the research, how much you are contributing or an individual is contributing. Later, I will show some of the important slides also there where we will try to see that how the individual contribution is making the difference in the institutional rankings and all that. So as already Professor Bhartendu, he mentioned that H-index and item index or the citations, or you can say that the total number of the publications. When we talk about the publications, we don't talk about the publication here and there. Publications should be in a standard journals. I will talk about what are those journals and what are the percentage of the, and that will be counted in the NIRF ranking and all that. So we will talk about all those things. So this is an important that how many number of the papers are published and what is the citations and what is the H-index and what is the item index. All these things are important parameters. So if your citations are high, if your publications are high, naturally if H-index is high and item index. So citations and the number of publications are very important in terms of the research. So some of this I will would like to share here. This is one of the paper which was published in Applied Clay Science, and this was the top cited article. So this is an happy moment. I'll say that this paper was published in Applied Clay Science and it was having the top site. It was the top cited article in 2012. This is having the impact factor of more than 5. And this is another paper which was published in Chemical Engineering Journal. This was published in 2011 and 12. This was the top cited article, and CJ, if right now we see that the impact factor is more than 16. So this was the another paper which was top cited. So top cited means that in that particular year, this paper was maximum number of the times that was cited by the others. So this is a prestigious moment, but at the same time, this is contributing a lot in terms of the citations and all, because of the high circulation and all that. So now the other thing is that I am associated with the couple of the journals as an editorial board member, one of the science and technology journal, which is under the UGC care list journal. So I'm the editor-in-chief of this journal. If anyone will be interested, of course, if their research contribution is falling within this, the aim and scope of this journal, they can contribute in this journal. So this is UGC care listed journal. We are hoping that this journal will be unlisted with the Scopus and all. Now another journal which is of course in the Scopus and having the impact of 3.9, almost the 4. I'm the associate editor of this journal, that is Environmental Engineering Research. So this is published, this enlisted with the Scopus and all. So I'll start with the United Nations SDGs. All we know about that, the Sustainable Development Goals, which was set among the, there was a common consensus on the, UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. That was mentioned that by 2030, the agenda was set for sustainable development, which was adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. And that provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future. And its heart are the 17 sustainable goals, SDGs, we used to call it. And this is a very important, the 17 SDGs, and there is a set goal up to 2030. I'm very happy to mention that the India is not lagging behind all the goals which are set by the United Nations, by the UN Council, that we are ahead of that to achieve the the targets and all. And they have given, and there are several targets that we have to achieve within the stipulated time. So out of that, if you try to see that out of the 17 sustainable SDGs, the fourth SDG is related to the education. What it was mentioned there, if you try to see, so very clearly mentioned there that to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So there was a lot of, when you try to see that the goal number 4, it looks very simple, but it's a very challenging in terms of say that you have to provide that the inclusive and the equitable quality education. The education must be equitable to everyone, and it should be inclusive. At the same time, you have to provide the opportunities, the lifelong learning opportunities, the education to everyone, equitable, inclusive, plus the lifelong learning. And if you try to see that the national educational policy, based on, I will not say that only based on this, the goal number 4, but to address the SDG 4 also, that was included in the our national education policy. So providing equitable education, inclusive equitable education, and to promote lifelong learning opportunities, that has been well addressed in the NEP also. If you try to see that our NEP, the NPE, it was earlier, it was called as the National Policy on Education, NPE, but now it is the National Education Policy, which was, the NPE was 1984, if I remember correctly. It was introduced in 1984 and then modified or amended, I will say that it was 1992. So if you try to see that in the core of that, the NPE was that access, equity, and quality. These are the 3 points which were inherently included that in our NPE, and of course it is included in the NEP as well. That is the access. The education need to be accessed by everyone, and equitable and inclusive education, and the quality education, quality of the education. And in the NEP, they have introduced a couple of more components, as I mentioned that in the SDG 4 also they have mentioned. The one is that the multidisciplinary and the holistic education. And then ethics and human and constitutional values need to be included. Not only this, in addition to this, there are the certain components which has been included. One which is very important, that is the lifelong learning, multidisciplinary and holistic education with the lifelong learning. And then the Indian knowledge system has been introduced. And if you try to see that in the NEP, some of the other things are also included. That is one of the important things, as I mentioned, the Indian knowledge system. In addition to this, the digitalization, internationalization. These are the things that has been included, and then to make it more competitive in terms of the global perspective. The higher education institution, if you try to see that, the vision of higher education that was emphasizes a new conceptual perception understanding for what constitutes a higher education institution, which is a university or a college. The term university is used to refer to a multidisciplinary institution of higher learning that offers undergraduate and the graduate programs with high quality teaching, research, and community engagement. Right from the beginning, what we had in our educational system, it is related to the providing the high quality teaching and the research, and then the community engagement. This is a very important, that how the inclusiveness is there, and how it is imparted for the or disseminated the education to the community, how best we can help to the society or the community engagement. So these are the important components which were right from the beginning. It was included in our HEIs or in our educational system. So this definition of university, this allows a spectrum of institutions. So based on this, we have divided the institutions into the different categories. I will say that the one which is called as that place equal emphasis on teaching and the research, that are referred to as research intensive universities, and those that place greater emphasis on teaching but still conduct significant research are referred to as the teaching intensive universities. And autonomous degree granting colleges, which are large multidisciplinary institutions of higher learning that could award undergraduate degrees and are primarily focused on undergraduate teaching, though it would not be restricted to teaching alone. So this is, of course, relatively older data, which I have collected 2019-20 data. India has entered a stage of massification of higher education. A lot of challenges are also there that you can see that. So India is the third largest educational system after the US and the China. So we are having that time 2019-20 total number of, now it has much increased. 1,043 the universities, the colleges 42,000, more than 42,000, standalone institutions more than 11,000. GIs India vary in terms of the content and level at which courses are offered. Of the universities, 307 were affiliating universities having colleges affiliated to them. The total number of universities included 396 universities that were privately managed, 420 universities located in rural areas, and 17 universities exclusively for the women. This is a very diverse, the diverse type of the universities or diverse different locations are there. A lot of challenges are there when they were trying to, or when we are trying to implement the NEP. If you try to see the core components of the NEP, a lot of the core components are there, and it is a big challenge, of course, that how the infrastructure will be provided, how the things will move, and how do we introduce the multidisciplinary educational system, and how do we include the the lifelong learning, how do we include the digitalization of the educational system, how do we include. There are many challenges, I will say that. The Indian knowledge system, the modern languages, the Indian languages, many things are there, that is there. But at the same time, the one of the very important and the biggest challenge for the country was that the GER, the gross enrollment ratio for the population in the age group 18 to 23 years being 27.1. So we have this is the biggest challenge that the GER, our target is that the GR has to be increased significantly, not less than 60-70%. So it need to be increased. How do we increase? And a lot of challenges already there, that a lot of dropouts are there. Many, if you try to see that, how many those who are taking the primary education, how many are entering into the higher education, and once they enter into the higher education graduate level, how many are entering into the PG level, or how many entering into the. So there are the the dropouts right from the beginning. If you try to see that, there are the diverse situations are there. Many are not able to continue the education. So this is one of the reason behind it, that the GR need to be, GR is low value of the GR. If you compare to the other developed countries, the GR, our GR is very, very low as compared to the other countries. So this is one of the, the suggestion, I would say, that they were trying to have to say the goodbye to the UGC, the University Grant Commission, and All India Council for Technical Education, that the Higher Education Commission of India, that is HECI, they are looking for that, will act as a single regulator. Of course, it is not implemented, but it was a proposal only for higher education, barring medical and legal colleges. So under that HECI, the proposal was like that. There are the different components of that. Under the umbrella of HECI, there will be the National Higher Education Regulatory Council for regulating the institutions, and then the General Education Council for setting standards for the institutions, the Higher Education Grant Council, HGC, for funding institutions. So all the fundings for all those all these HEIs will be given by the HGC, and the accreditation, a single accreditation will be there under that, okay, or the technical education and the HEIs, all that will be included through that, the National Accreditation Council for accreditation of the institutions. So the concept of the MERU, they are trying to introduce under the MERU, that is the multidisciplinary education and research universities. They are at par with the IITs or the IIMs to be set up as models of best multidisciplinary education of the global standards in the country. Ultimate goal is that your graduates need to be the competitive. They should be competitive at the national as well as at the internationally. So there was a report that how many of our graduates are, the employable, the education, whether it is employable. So all those things, it was, taken into account. And now there are the concept related to the dual degree. When we talk about the dual degree, through that we are collaborating with the other institutions. And it is not that the 2 degrees, but it is something like that. They are trying to collaborate with the other institution or the, the high-ranked institutions, and the education has to be, what you say that both the institution, they are participating and trying to provide the education to the graduates and upgrading the knowledge, or I can say that the standard of the education. A new and comprehensive national curricular framework for teacher education, NCFTE to 2021, will be formulated by the NCTE in consultation with NCERT. By 2030, the minimum degree qualification for teaching will be a 4-year integrated B.Ed degree. Stringent action will be taken against substandard standalone teacher education institutions and all. So when we talk about the rankings and the criteria, if you try to say that the international status, that is the higher education world university ranking, that is the D ranking, the Times Higher Education ranking, that is also called as the D ranking. If you try to see that the D ranking, what is the status? If you try to see that the top 10 universities I just included here, University of Oxford, UK, Harvard University, University of Cambridge, Stanford University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, California, Princeton University, University of California, Yale University, Imperial College London. So these are the universities, or the institutions ranked at the top 10 at the globally or the internationally. So if you try to see, I just try to include some of the data of those institutions, the number of the FTE, that means that the full-time, the enrolled or the full-time enrollment of the students. So this is the numbers they have already provided, 20,000, 21,000, 20,000, and so on. So the number of students per staff is 10.6 for the Oxford University. The international students, you have to see that how much the internationalization has been incorporated there. Why the students, they have the preference, why the students are moving to those institutes. Of course, it is the ranked institute, but at the same time, how they are maintaining the standards and all that. So the international students, if you try to see that in the University of Oxford, it is 42%, and male, female, or the female-male ratio was 48 to 52. Similarly, Harvard University, UK. That means that the diversity in terms of the male-female, diversity in terms of the the national or the international students, the diversity in terms of the faculties within the country or outside of the country. So these are the important factors. At the same time, the number of students per staff, how many are there? So these are the the important parameters by which I will show that how the what are the criteria of international ranking, the ranking and all that. So these are the 2 things which are very important in Indian perspective. The one is that the internationalization, the international students, international faculty. And the second thing is that the male and the female ratio. And now these are the, the data which is for the top 10 ranked institution. And if you try to see that the D ranking, and very unfortunate that none of our universities are among the 100. None of our HEIs are among top 100 institutions. So this is the Indian status, the Indian scenario. If you try to see that, the best institution, which is the Indian Institute of Science, it is ranked at the, the band of 251 to 300. That means that our institutions, the best institution is also not within 100 of the top institutions. This is very unfortunate for the country that although we have the third largest educational system, but we are not among the 100 top institutions. There are several reasons. You can, if you try to see that, the number of FTE students, 3,900, almost 4,000 students, and the number of the students per staff is 8.8. International students, why you try to see that the ISC Bangalore is not receiving the students from abroad, is 1% of it. So ISC Bangalore itself is having 1%. Male-female, female-male ratio, try to see that. This is the premier institution in the country, 27 to the 73. Very less number of the female students are, moving towards to the Indian Institute of Science, comparing to the male students. Then the second number is, again, it is in the 351 to 400, the band. JSS, Academy of Higher Education and Research. So this is the international student, relatively more, is 7%. And the female-male ratio is also quite okay, but the number of FTE and all that, it is low. So it is 351 to 400. Research component is very low compared to the ISC Bangalore. That's why it is at the higher band gap. You will get surprised looking into this that our Banaras Hindu University, which is one of the premier institutions in the country, this is 601 to the 800. So BHU is even not within the 500 institutions. If you try to see JNU is 601 to 800. This is also not in the top 500 institutions. So, and it is very surprising to see that none of our regular, I will say that the IITs are among this 10 or 15, the top ranked institution in India, the world ranking, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIT Guwahati, or IIT Kanpur and all that. They are not among that. There are the IIT Indore is there, of course, and another IIT is there. So Indian Institute of Technology, Indore is there. Okay, that is in the rank band. It's a 601 to the 800 band group. And here also, if you try to see that the number of the international students is 0%, male-female ratio is also 22 to 78. Means that what I want to say that our premier institutions are also not the preferred place for the student, for the, internationally, if you try to see that, they are not the preferred place for getting the education. One time we were having, the students, they used to prefer to move towards the, the country, towards the India. India was, I will say that India was having the educational system. It's one of the most, or I will say that one of the important educational place where people, they used to move towards the country and they try to get the higher education. But this thing is not at all at this moment. We are lagging much behind on that. So these are the, some of the parameters, if you try to see that the ranking times higher educational ranking parameters. If you try to see that, these are the, as I mentioned, that how do they rank the institutions? So there are the 5 components. Based on that, they used to rank the institution. The number 1 component is the teaching, research, citations, international outlook, industry, the income. Out of this, if you try to see that the research and citations, I have shown you the first slide about my own research components or the contributions. So here, if you try to see that the research, which includes volume, income, reputation, the citations, research influence, how many times that your research published a paper or your research is being cited, that is the citation. So these 2 components, which is related to the research for the Times ranking, it is showing that 30% and 30%. That means that the 60% components is related to the research. And not only this, the 60% component, but I will try to show you that in addition to this, there are the certain more components which are also related to the research. If you try to see that the teaching, which is, which includes 30%, the learning environment, the teaching, that total, the weightage is the 30%. Reputation survey, how the, the teacher's reputation, how the overall teaching reputation, that will be, the third party, some kind of the reputation that, or the kind of the survey they try to do. Based on that, they try to get the data. That means that the reputation survey, and it includes the 50%, 15%, and the staff to student ratio. As I have shown you earlier also, that when we talk about the staff, that means that the FTE, full-time enrollment of the students, as well as that the staff. So staff to student ratio is 4.5%. Doctorate to the bachelor's ratio, okay, doctorate to the bachelor's ratio 2.25%, means that more number of the doctorate in the institution, that will give you the better weightage on that. Doctorates awarded to academic staff ratio, how many number of the doctorates are awarded to academic staff, the total number of the faculty ratio, that is giving you the 6%. So this doctorate degrees, it is nothing but related to the research only, isn't it? They are enrolled for the research only. So this 6% is also part of the, I will say that this is also part of the research component. So if I include this also, the 6% of the 30%, then you can see that, sorry, this is 6%, total 6%. So 30 plus 6, okay. So 66%, it is nothing related to the research. Then the institutional income, how much is the institutional income? That is 2.25%. So these are all together, it becomes the 30% for the teaching environment, what we are providing. And then the research, it comes here, the reputation survey. If you try to see that all that, the reputation survey, whether it is teaching or the research, both way the reputation survey. If reputation survey, it also comes based on that, how you are performing in the research, how many faculties, how they are, where they are publishing, and what is the reputation of that. So based on that, the reputation survey, it is 18%. And then the research income, how much we are earning based on the research income, say the consultancy, the projects and all that. Through that, we are getting the funding and all that. So it is the 6%. And the research productivity is the 6%. And then altogether, 30% is given for your citations, total citations. And then the international outlook, which is 7.5%, staff, students, the research. So 7.5 total is the 7.5%. Out of that, international to the domestic student ratio, 2.5%. International to domestic staff ratio, 2.5%. And international, the collaborations, how many collaborations that institution is having, kind of the MOUs. And when we talk about the MOU is not that just the signing of the papers. It is something related to that, how many the functional MOUs are there, okay? So when we talk about the functional MOUs, we are doing means that how many students are participating, how many faculties are exchanges there, how many faculties are moving from, means that the functional, operational, the MOUs between the international institutions. So international collaborations for the research, for the academic activities. Now there are the many opportunities, different avenues are there. Government itself is opening a lot of ways by which we can have the international collaborations. And then the industry income, the knowledge transfer, that is the consultancy and all that, how we are interacting with the industry. So that is the 2.5%. So altogether, it becomes the 100%. So here, if you try to see that the research component is contributing significantly, and it is very decisive in terms of the ranking of the institution. This is the same thing, that the ranking, as I mentioned previously in the previous slide, teaching, the 30% reputation survey, and so on, you can see here. Okay. So all those things which have already discussed in the previous slide, that how the total 100% or the ranking is being ranked. The one criteria which is a very important when you are participating, or the HEIs are participating for this, the ranking, but whether the institution is eligible or not, the eligibility is also there. The eligibility is, they are relatively strict, okay, compared to our NIRF ranking, the national ranking. The exclusion and inclusion criteria for the ranking. So there are 7 key criteria for universities to be included. The one is, some are not very important. I will discuss only the important, the criterion. The now one is, which is very important, that they are required to publish more than 1,000 relevant publications over the previous 5 years and more than 150 relevant publication in any single in any single year. This is very important. In the last 5 years, the institution must have published 1,000 papers. That means that on an average every year, they have to publish 200 papers. When we talk about the 1,000 papers, it means that the 1,000 papers should not be here and there. 1,000 papers should be either in the Scopus index or the Web of Science index journals, not in anywhere. So total 1,000 papers which are in the Scopus or Web of Science, 1,000 papers, and 150 relevant publication in any single year, not less than that. So many institutions are not having this criteria to fulfill this criteria, so they are excluded from the the ranking. The second is, which they must teach at an undergraduate level, usually indicated by having more than 0 undergraduate degrees awarded. Postgraduate only institutions are therefore not in the ranking. So those institutions which are only providing the postgraduate education, they cannot be the part of this the ranking. They must not be focused on a single narrow subject. More than 80% of their publication output is from one subject area. So what they want to say that the different types of the programs, different subject area has to be included. It should not be just the one area or the one type of the subject or one type of the publications. They must have supplied overall numbers for the ranking year. They must not have more than 2 of the critical values: academic staff, international academic staff, research staff, students, international students, undergraduate degrees awarded, doctorate awarded, institutional income, research income from industry and commerce as null, either marked by the institution as unavailable or held. Null values will cause any metric based on that value to also be null. They must supply numbers for at least one applicable subject. If no applicable subjects has been reported, the institution is excluded. These are some of the criterions, but the criteria is the initial. The first 3 criterions are very important to be included in the ranking or to participate in the world ranking, the Times Higher Education ranking. This is another ranking that is called as the QS ranking, the quarterly Simmons World Ranking. And here the weightage is given something like 40% for the academic reputation, 10% for the employer reputation, faculty student ratio 20%, citations per faculty is 20%, international faculty ratio to the international student ratio 5%. So this is the QS ranking. Based on that, the QS ranking is being ranked. The institutions are ranked for the QS ranking. I'll not go in that detail. The university that leaders, why this ranking is so important? There are the many inherent features. Many things are there nowadays. The economy is also involved. If the more movement of the students are there, education is one of the areas. Okay. The economy is also involved. I can say that there are the many things. The funding is related to that. How the institution could be funded, could be given the fund. University leaders that believe for rankings help maintain and build institution position and reputation. Good students use ranking to shortlist university choice, especially postgraduates. Nowadays, students are more smarter than us. They know that which university is better. They try to see. Every time they are looking into which university is having what ranking, and based on this ranking only the lot of opportunities, avenues are there. Okay. And the companies are also looking towards the better universities. They feel that they are the better, the graduates that they are producing. Stakeholders use ranking to influence their decisions about accreditation, funding, sponsorship, and employee recruitment. Respondents say reputation derived from a league table is a critical determinant for applicants. Almost 50% respondents use their institutional rank for publicity purposes in press release, official presentations, and the websites. They used to mention, we are also, we used to feel proud of, having our institution, Mizoram University is, top 100 institution in the country. So this the international status. If you try to see that there is more internationalized sector, governments across the world are using ranking to measure their global competitiveness. There are the Shanghai ranking or the QS ranking or the Times Higher Educational World University rankings. All these are related to that. This is not that important. This is also these. I will skip some of the slides which are not that related. It's not much related to that. So some of the countries such as the Germany, the France, the Japan, Korea, and Singapore have introduced similar programs to improve their higher education systems and build world-class universities. In Asia, in particular, the university ranking have created a reputation race which sees both universities and governments closely monitoring the changing criteria for university ranking. So there was a lot of debate also initially when we have introduced our ranking system in way back 2015. After that, 2016, the first NIRF ranking was introduced. So why the students, they don't have the preference for our, the educational system, or sorry, in our HEIs, say ITs or the ISC Bangalore and all that. Why the international students? Because the ranking, we are not performing well in terms of the rankings. Our ranking, we have never concerned, we have never looked upon that the institution should have a better rank. So the methodology and all this is not important. These are some of the characteristics that you can see that right from the beginning, how this ranking things has started. So launch year, the first edition, number of fields, number of subjects, total university type of data, for the ranking. So Shanghai ranking, which was launch year was 2003, the first edition which came 2007, number of fields 5 they have taken initially, number of subjects 5, total universities 500 they participated, and the type of the data, which is a very important, what type of the data, based on that they have ranked. So bibliometric and reputation. And bibliometric data, what they have taken, that is the Web of Science they have consulted, they have taken into account. And ranking focus, research and teaching. And weightage of the research performance indicators, 90%. It's a very important. You have to see that in the Shanghai ranking, the QS ranking 2004, and the first edition was 2009. 5 fields, 29 subjects they have taken, and total universities 700 plus universities. So bibliometric surveys and manpower scopus was also included, and the research, teaching and innovation was given emphasis, and 40% for the weight for the research performance indicator. NTU ranking, okay, which was 2007. So these are the historical things. It offered a joint ranking in collaboration with the Times. So although its first edition dates back to 2008, it has not been published regularly since 2012. So 12, that is the latent ranking. Since then, it is published annually. So as I mentioned, there are the benefits of the ranking: the quality education with high standard, promoting education, global status to achieve in higher education, attracting more international students, economy, as I mentioned that it is much related with the economy, and then the competitiveness in terms of the global perspective, how our education is competitive enough to provide our graduates the employable, to make them the employable. So ranking parameters, considering the fact that universities in India are essentially set up for postgraduate education and research, was decided to assign higher percentage, that is the 40% weightage to research. The productivity impact and IPR 30% weightage to teaching, learning and resources, 5% weightage to graduation outcomes, 5% weightage to outreach and inclusivity, And lastly, 10% was given to the perception about the institution. So these are the, the initially they have decided that the, for the national ranking, 40%, 30%, 55%, and 10%. 40%, that is for the research, productivity, impact, and IPR, 30% for the teaching and the learning. So this is the first, the draft which was prepared in 2015 and 2016, the first ranking was declared. So this was the core committee who has decided and who has framed the ranking framework in the country for the NIRF. Professor V.S. Chauhan, which was the member of the University Grant Commission that time. So he was the chairing the committee, with the members, Professor Anil Sahasrabudre, that time he was the chairman, AICTE, Professor Surendra Prasad from former director, IT New Delhi, Professor Furkan Kumar, Secretary General, AIU, and Professor N.V. Varghese, Director, CPRHE, Professor D.P. Singh, that time he was the director of the NAC, and Professor Asas Chahal is the member. So they were the member of that committee, and the coordinating, it was by the Dr. Kulbir Singh. He was the joint secretary in UGC. He was coordinating this committee, and they have introduced the first ranking framework in the country. So this was the overview of that. The National Institutional Ranking Framework was approved by the MHRD and launched by Honorable Minister of Human Resource and Development on 29th of September 2015. As I mentioned, that time they have included the 5 parameters. Based on that, the ranking in the country, it could be formulated. So those 5 parameters were that the teaching, learning and resources, TLR we used to say, and then research and professional practices, RPP we used to call, graduation outcomes, GO, and outreach and inclusivity, that is called as OI, and the perception of the institution. Although the ranking frameworks are similar, the exact methodology are domain specific. Ranking methods have been worked out for 5 categories of institutions, and that time it was the 5 different for that they have ranked the institutions, that is called as the overall ranking, engineering, management, pharmacy, and the colleges. So they have 5 different categories. They ranked the institution, as I mentioned, that the one is called as the overall ranking, engineering, management, pharmacy, and colleges. Now, if you try to see that, large number of the categories has been introduced. I'll show. So these are not that important, the main features, the methodology and all. In a brief, in the nutshell, I will try to show you that how these are some of the salient features, and the executive summary and all is not that important. The data collection, as I mentioned, that some of the data the university is providing or HAIs are providing, and some of the data the third party they try to collect. So one of the important that research components, they try to get it by the third party. In FlipNet, they have they are interested providing the data based on the Web of Science and based on the Indian citation index, or based on the Scopus Web of Science and India Citation Index. Based on that, the third party, they are providing the data of the institution, the total number of the publications, the total citations, all that it will be provided by it will be collected by the third party. And now they are trying to collect all the PhD through this directly, that how many PhDs are awarded from the Shodh Ganga. They will be getting all the data in the HAIs, how many are produced the PhDs that they will be collecting it from the Shodh Ganga from this year. Similarly, some data can be made available through a national effort. For example, data about success in public examinations can be easily compiled if all concerned body, UPSC, state PSCs, SSC, GATE, NET, CAT, GMAT or GMAT, CMAT, etc., conducting such examinations prepare an institution-wise list providing details of the total number of aspirants and the successful candidates from each institution. So this is also they are planning, they are trying to get, for the cross-check and all that. And financial data, they used to ask, and they are sending sometimes for the clarification, the audited statement also sometimes they are asking that, or the audited statement of the funds and all that, they are trying to get it. So now in 2022, that will be coming. So that time, the different categories, large number of the categories now it has been introduced. The one is the overall, the ranking, another the universities ranking, colleges ranking, college ranking, research institutions, engineering ranking, management institutions ranking, pharmacy institution ranking, medical institution ranking, dental institution ranking, law institutions ranking, architecture rank. So these are the large number of, I will say that now the categories they have introduced for the ranking. So you will be sometimes you will be getting, or you are getting the information that this institution for under the college category, this much of the rank, or this is the university which is have overall ranking is this, university ranking is this, like that it is coming, or the engineering ranking is this, like that. So summary of this ranking parameters and weightages. So now slightly they have changed it. Now what they have done, right, when they have introduced, the weightages were different, but now they have changed it time to time. They are changing it. So last year it was the teaching, learning and resources was the 30%, research and professional practice was 30%, graduation outcomes 20%, outreach and inclusivity is 10%, and perception is 10%. Initially, if you try to recall it, the graduation outcome and outreach and inclusivity was 5%, but now graduation outcomes is 20% and outreach and inclusivity is 10%. And teaching, learning and research both are given the equal weightage, that is the 30%. Perception is given the 10%. If you go more in detail, if you try to see that, when the 30% of teaching, learning and resources are divided into the 4 different categories, having the different weightages, say student strength, including the doctoral students are given the 20% weightage, faculty student ratio with emphasis on permanent faculty is the 30%. Out of the total 30%. Combined metric for faculty with PhD or equivalent and experience is 20%. Financial resources and their utilization is the 30%. So here, what I want to say that some of the institutions, they are facing the problem in terms of which I marked it with the red. That is how many your faculty are having the highest degree, that is the PhDs. If less number of the student faculties are having the PhD degree in the teaching, learning and resources, you will be losing the points under this category, which comprises out of the 30%, 20%. So this is, this was the challenge for our institution also, because in our university also some of the faculties they were not having, but later it was decided, and almost I will say that at this moment almost more than 98% of faculties are having the highest degree, so we are not losing the points under that. So student strength total doctoral students, including doctoral students, so more number of the doctoral students will make the better the weightage you will be getting under the TLR. And the financial resources, that is not much we can do on that. Faculty student ratio, how many the total number of the faculty and how many, so that here it is a very important that how many the total sanctioned positions are there and how many are filled, and based on that it comes that what is the ratio of the faculty to the student. The second component, which is the 30%, as a good or equal weightage as TLR, that is the research and professional practice. This is again divided into the 4 categories, 4 parameters. The one is combined metric for publications, total number of the publication. As I mentioned that publication should be in the Web of Science or the Scopus. Combined metric for quality of the publications, where you are publishing, in which journals you are publishing, what is the impact factor and all that. So that is the 35%. IPR and the patents published and granted. This is a very important, that is given the 15% weightage. Footprints of the projects, professional practice, that is the faculty development program, sorry, the executive development program and all that, it comes under that. So footprints of the projects are the, you can say that the consultancy and all that, it comes under this, the category. So that in this parameter, that is the 10% of the weightage is given for this. So here 35%, these two are very important. That is the combined metric for publication, total number of the publications, and combined metric for quality publication, that is nothing but related to the citations and all that. Okay, so 35%, total 70% is just given for this, the publication and citation, and 15% is given for the patents and all. Graduation outcomes divided into the two parameters. One is the metric for university examination, 60%, and metric for the number of PhD students, the graduated GPHD, given the 40% of the. So altogether, it becomes the 100% out of the 20%. Then the outreach and the inclusivity. Here, again, the four metrics. Percentage of students from other states, countries, region diversity. That means that how many students are, the diversity when we talk about in terms of the within the state, outside of the states, within the country, outside of the country. Okay, so these two diversity, and the diversity in terms of the male, female students, diversity in terms of the economically and socially challenged students, facilities for physically challenged students. So these are the four subcategories, I will say that sub-parameters for which the 10% is given. So some of the, the metrics, if you try to see that, for particularly in terms of the Mizoram University, women diversity is quite good. Economically and socially challenged, it is also quite okay, quite good. Physically challenged students, I won't say that, but we have provisions and all that. But the problem what we are facing, that the percentage of students from other states and the countries, the international students, internationalization. So other states, not many students are there. If you talk about, so this is under this CUET and all that. I hope that this challenges can be addressed, but the challenge related to the international students still remain there, and it is common for the most of the HEIs that they are not receiving good number of the students from the other countries, but a lot of drives are taken into account. They have initiated by the ministry, and now the number of the international students are increasing. So now the next is the peer perception. Peer perception they used to collect is a third party type. It is academic peers and employers. They try to get, and they try to update also time to time, that the list they are sending the this mail and all that, and they are asking the what is the perception about the institution, and the peers, they try to give their own feedback, and then based on that, the 10% is given. The colleges are slightly different parameter. Here the TLR is given the 40%, and it means that the teaching, learning, and resources are given the 40%. Student strength 20%, faculty student ratio 30%, combined metric for faculty with PhD is given the 30 marks. And some financial resources 30%, sorry, the combined metric for faculty with PhD is given the 20 marks, and financial resources and their utilization is given the 30%. So altogether it becomes the 100% of the 40%. So more emphasis is given for the colleges, the TLR, that is the 40%, and research is given the less, the emphasis, that is the 15% only. Out of that, the two components, combined metric for publication 70, combined metric for quality publications 30 marks. Graduation outcome 25%, and outreach and inclusivity is 10%. Slightly, the different here, more it is given for the graduation outcomes 25%, 40% for the TLR, teaching, learning and resources. Research is reduced here significantly from 30% to the 50%, 15%. And of course, the perception is the 10%. Now, this was the status of the overall university ranking 2022. So I have just taken only the data from the northeastern states, northeastern region. That is the number one is the Indian Institute of Technology, which is the overall ranking was 8th. Guwahati University, which is the second, I will say, in the northeastern region. They are not giving, I would like to clarify here, NIRF never provides the region-wise ranking. This is, I only made it. Don't get confused that they used to write several mails that NIRF is not providing any regional ranking. So this is, don't get confused. This is only the serial number. So Indian Institute of Technology, it is on the 8th rank. And then the Guwahati University overall ranking is the 64th, and university ranking is 36. Tezpur University got 90th rank in the overall ranking and the 59 in the university ranking. Northeastern Hill University, that is NEHU, is 66 and 101 into 150. And Mizoram University, 66 is the under the university ranking. Don't get confused. And this is ranked in the overall ranking. It is ranked or placed into 101 to 150 gap. Okay, band gap. Mizoram University is university ranking is 78, and it is placed for the overall ranking 101 to 150 band. Now, what important thing which I would like to share here, the total score, how much they are getting these institutions. Say Indian Institute of Technology got 69.75, Guwahati University got 48.98, Tezpur University got 45.59, and NEHU got 45.44. And this is for the overall, but this is for the university. Slightly different because the perception component is different. When they are peer has been asked, so they will be giving, when they are talking about for the university, they are giving maybe given the better emphasis or the more points. When they are talking about the overall, they may not rank your institution. So based on that, the peer component or the perception component, it varies. So now NEHU got 45.44 and Mizoram University got 43.24. Very close to the Northeastern Hill University. So we are, what we used to say that our competitor is the Northeastern, the Hill University. So this is the detail, try to see that how much the other institutions in this region they are getting. IIT Guwahati is getting in TLR, the teaching, learning and resources, the 30%, 78.29. The research and professional practice, they are getting 63.54. Graduation outcome, they are getting 83.26. OI, outreach and inclusivity, 59.58. Perception is very high, you can see here, 45.93. Guwahati University, similarly, 59.4 to 21, which is, you see, this component, the research component. If you try to compare it closely, if you try to see that, the IIT Guwahati is having much higher comparing to the other institutions. Guwahati University 21, Tezpur University 27, NEHU is 17, Mizoram University is only 14. If we improve the research and professional practice significantly, then there is no point will be placed above to this NEHU, or maybe if we do much better, we can above to this the Tezpur University also. Here, in terms of the TLR, 78 is the IIT Guwahati, Guwahati University 59, Tezpur University 59, NEHU is 56, Mizoram University is also doing quite comparable, 55.86, almost the similar. If you try to see all these, the Guwahati University, Tezpur University, NEHU, Mizoram University, almost similar they are performing. And in terms of the research, the Mizoram University, NEHU is not performing well. That is why they are, much below to the other institutions. Graduation outcome is quite comparable. 89.82 is the Guwahati University, 83 is the IIT Guwahati, Tezpur University 63, Mizoram University 73, and NEHU is 77. Outreach, almost comparable values we are getting. 59, 58, 50, 51, 53 is the Mizoram University. The perception is, contributing a lot, although it is the total weightage is the 10%. The IIT Guwahati is 45. Naturally, they are having the better perception. Guwahati University is having better perception. In terms, 8.6 is for the overall, and 44 they are getting for the university. Tezpur University, 16.97 is the for overall, and the 35.88 for the university, the perception. NEHU, since top 100 only they are providing, since we are not for overall, we are not in the top 100, but we are in the university category, we are in the top 100. So we are getting this detail. 23.41 for the NEHU, and Mizoram University 20.28. Of course, we know that perception in people not much knowing about the Mizoram University. That's why our perception, and particularly when we talk about in terms of the overall, the ranking or the overall, if peers has been asked for the overall ranking, naturally Mizoram University, they are not ranking. That's why we are having the less the points on the perception component. Guwahati University or the IIT Guwahati, they are at a better place. Anyway, our two things, one is that the research component, the second is that the perception. These are the two challenges. Perception we cannot do much, but we tried a lot to improve, and now it is significantly introduced. Earlier it was 2%, 3%, now it has reached to 20%. So we are hoping that in future we will do better, but in terms of the research, we have to contribute a lot significantly, then only we can move ahead of this NEHU or can reach to the Tezpur University and all that. So when we talk about the journals, the publication, when I mentioned that publications are very important, so let us discuss something about the journals. So journals, if you try to see, when you are looking into the publications, there are the different, the terms are being used. So what are the definitions? What are the importance of that? Sometimes you might have seen that SNIP, Source Normalized Impact Paper. The journal, when we talk about the impact factor, is an important criterion. What is the impact factor? Publishing your journal in high impact journals. Why do we want to publish in high impact? Higher circulation is there, more citations will be there. That's the reason. So anyway, so there are the certain terminology which has been used. We should understand that is, one is that source normalized impact paper. Average citation impact of the publications of a journal corrects for differences in citation practices between scientific fields, thereby allowing for more accurate between field comparisons of citation impact. Then the eigenfactor, you might have heard about it. That is the meaning of this is citations from high quality journals are weighted more than citations from lesser known journals. All journals with eigenfactor scores listed in JCR, some 200. Normalized eigenfactor score is made relative to 1. A journal with a normalized score of 3 has 3 times the total influence of the average journal in the JCR. Journal influence, this means that score is 1. A score greater than 1 indicates that each article in the journal has above average influence. A score less than 1 indicates that each article in the journal has below average influence. So these are the terminologies. Based on that, they try to measure, they try to see that how the journal is performing. So output articles, that is the times cited. We all know that number of times another publication has cited your publications, and sources, various database, altmetrics tool. Downloads or the save, number of times the publication has been downloaded from the source or the saved. Abstract view, number of times the abstract of the article has been viewed. Media mentions, number of times the publication has been mentioned, shared, liked, etc. on a number of platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and more, often broken down into submetrics. The tool is altmetric tool and more, and also there. So one is that the General Citation Report, JCR, we used to refer it. is an annual publication by Clarivate Analytics, previously the intellectual property of the Thomson Reuters. Thomson Reuters now, as we all know, that is nothing but the Clarivate Analytics. It has been integrated with the Web of Science and is accessed from the Web of Science code collection. It provides information about academic journals in the natural sciences and social sciences, including impact factors. You used to get the impact factor through this JCR, that is nothing but the Clarivate Analytics. Okay. The JCR was originally published as a part of Science Citation Index. Currently, the JCR as a distinct service is based on citations compiled from the Science Citation Index, expanded, and the Social Sciences Citation Index. This is important, of course, not the very updated, it's the old one only, December 2016. If you try to see that the CITE score of an academic journal is a measure in reflecting the yearly average number of citations to recent articles published in that journal. This journal evaluation metric was launched in December 2016 by Elsevier as an alternative to the generally used JCR impact factors. So nowadays, you might have seen that the CITE score is also mentioned. That is nothing but based on the Scopus. While CITE score and JCR impact factor are similar in their definition. So if you try to see this, the parameter for the JCR if or the CITE score, evaluation period is 2 to 3 years. Database is JCR, it is nothing but the Scopus. Number of index journal, 2016, that time, it was 11,000, it is 22,000, but it is now much significantly increased. Accesses, subscribers, anyone, evaluated items, articles, reviews, all publications and all. Another term that we used to use in the, about the journals, that are the quartiles. So what are these? What are the quartiles? Quartiles is nothing but, we categorize or we can, segregate the journals into the 4 different categories. So in addition to the impact factor or the impact index, rankings of journals in each subject category are divided into quartiles for both JCR and SJR. These quartiles rank the journals from highest to the lowest based on their impact factor or impact index. There are 4 quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. What is Q1? Q1 is nothing but is occupied by the top 25% of the journals in the list. Q2 is occupied by journals in the 25 to 50% group. Q3 is occupied by 50 to 75% group. And Q4 is occupied by the 75 to the 100% the group. Then there was a lot of question on that, where to publish. As I mentioned that we have to publish either in the Web of Science, or we have to publish in the Scopus, or we have to publish in the Indian Citation Index. So Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, AHCI, SSI, or SCI. In these journals, we have to publish. UGC Care list is also devised, where you will be getting the information about all the journals. And nowadays, the UGC Care list is, having the 2 different categories or the 2 different groups, group 1 and the group 2, they have generalized it. So the journals, those which are found qualified through UGC Care protocols, that are clubbed in the group 1, and group 2, as I mentioned, that all the Scopus, all the Web of Science and all those journals are clubbed into the group 2 journals. So this was our Mizoram University performance in terms of the publications. As I mentioned, research is very important component for a better ranking and all that. That's why I am discussing more on that. So Web of Science, we have got the publications for the last 3 years, 2018, 19, and 20. They used to get the publication. They are trying to get the calendar year wise. The data which we are submitting for the NIRF ranking, or even for the NAC accreditation also. So there are the 3 different types of the data that we used to provide, and into the 3 different calendars that we used to follow. For the publications, the calendar year; for the financial components, the financial year; And for the other data, for example, the students related all that data that we will be providing based on the academic year. So Web of Science, we got the 537 publications, total citation 3,860 for 3 years. Scopus 650 papers, and we got the citations of 4,748, and the IPR, the published and the granted. These are the two things. So we got 8 the granted, the published IPR, the patents, none is granted till now. Okay. So these are the something that's weightage they have given initially 45% Scopus and Web of Science, and 10% was given to the Indian Citation Index initially. Scope of the improvements and all that, this is something we, I was discussing that how do we improve, particularly in terms of our, the Mizoram University. So we are looking more towards the consultancy. We have to perform better in consultancy component, entrepreneurship, full-time executive programs of 1 year duration. This is one of that, which is, many institutions, they are lagging. Students opting for higher education, placements, top university details, the graduate student taken admission in MzU, that is the diversity and all. And one of the very important, that is the MOOC courses, how many are developed and how many are opted. So this is one of the important component. This is also included in the NIRF ranking, that massive open online courses, how many our students are registered on that and how many our faculties have developed the MOOC courses. And when we talk about the research metrics, nothing, it is a measure used to quantify the influence or impact of scholarly work. How do you currently show your impact as a researcher or author? What does impact look like in your department or discipline? Why is it important to show the impact? So these are the things why. So I was just looking into, and then I will say that gives you the self-evaluation, self-promotion portfolio, tenure and promotion, funding justification and support, and for the recruitment. And if you see that students' education program value, identify most productive area of research, identify the potential, the collaborators. This is the background of the research evaluations: productivity, visibility, reputation, and impact. These are the 4 things. That's the research evaluation is based on the productivity, the visibility, the reputation, and the impact. So these are the some of the, I will say that the historical things, how the ISI was, initiated all this Institute for Scientific Information and all that. The USA 1960, through that they were observing all that, how the things are moving in terms of the research, in terms of the collaboration, in terms of the international collaborations and all that. So I will not go in that detail. And here some of the, the impact factor, immediacy factor, and all those things, it was, introduced and all that. And then the H index and all, it has come. So H index, already we have discussed it. Suppose if someone has published, the H index is defined as the maximum value of H such that the given author journal has published at least H papers that have each been cited at least H times. The index is designed and to improve upon simpler measures such as the total number of citations or publications. The index works best when comparing scholars working in the same field, since citation conventions differ widely among different fields. So this is suppose someone has published, 5 publications, A, B, C, D, and E, with the citations of 10, 8, 5, 4, and 3. So the H index will be 4, because you can see that the minimum 4 papers are having minimum 4 times cited. And suppose the same A, B, C, D, they have published the 5 papers, say, having the citations of 25, 8, 5, 3, and 3. So H index will be 3, because the 3 only papers are having 3 times minimum cited. If I say that 5, means that the 5 papers should be 5 times cited. This is not true. So in that case, the 3 papers are minimum 3 times cited. So this is the simplest way to understand what is the meaning of the H index. This is our Mizoram University, the data. H index, now it is much crossed. I have collected this much, not now, much earlier, maybe 6-7 months before I have collected this data. So that time the H index was 60 and the total papers were 2,248 papers that we were having. How these papers are, year-wise publication, we try to get it. You can see here a sharp increase here, a sharp increase in a recent time that we observed that our papers are, last couple of years, a significant increase in the publication that we obtain. And the different area-wise, it is showing here the area-wise in a different, the environmental science, engineering, environmental science, and pollution research, like that, how the we are performing in Mizoram University. The individual-wise, how the faculties are publishing their papers. You can see here that this is this bar diagram is shown that how the other faculties are performing. For example, DP Rai 149, Professor R.K. Thapa 142, myself is 102. It was maybe sometimes back that I have collected it. And then how this affiliations, how the exchange, or you can say the collaborations. So Mizoram University and the Pachunga University College, NIT, Silchar, Northeastern Hill University, this is showing that what the collaborations and how they are performing and what is the outcome of that in terms of the publications and all. It is shown with the help of the data. This data is very important, particularly for the institution, how much the exchange is there, how much collaborations are going on. You can see that some of the collaboration, for example, I am collaborating with this CKU, that is the Catholic Contact University. So some of the collaborative publications are coming here. So this is the document by type, articles, conference paper, book chapters, and all that details is shown here. Documents by subject area, in which area, what is the strength of a particular institution of a HAI that you can get through the data. This is all I collected through the Scopus only. Okay. Through the Scopus, that how the institution is performing in a particular area. So for example, say agriculture area 11.5%, say environmental 11.09, like that, the percentage. So from here, someone can have the idea that what is the strength of the institution that they can get it. And then the document type, the review article in press, book chapters, conference, and all that details you will be getting. So this is in brief, I will say that about the NIRF. I try to cover certain things. I thank all of you for your patience and all. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, one participant, one query is there, Elijah Chaga. She has said in the message box, I think the premier institutions like IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, and IIT Kanpur boycotted the ranking assessment 2022-23 methodological issue related to related to the issue related to the assessment, that's why it did not feature in the ranking. But I think it is not right. Their ranking is in engineering.
They are there. They are in the overall ranking. They are there.
Yeah. So I think quality research publication, the PhD program in India. Yeah. So I think no other queries are there. So from our side, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable information. Very good lecture, which is useful for all of us. And special from our side, special thanks because you are in Korea and engaged in your research and your own work. Even then, you are ready to deliver your lecture from there. So thank you so much, sir, for your lecture, sir.
Thank you giving me this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.